Hello, Dorcas here with the Delightful Cottage, and we are going to do a tutorial on threading a sewing machine. So come along and learn how simple it is to thread a sewing machine. We're going to start here with my sewing machine. I have a Bernina 1008, and this is a very, very basic model. It doesn't have any electronics. It is all buttons that you turn to change settings. So that's one thing you want to look for in a beginning sewing machine is you don't want a lot of electronics. You want it very, very basic. That makes it much easier to learn and understand, and you can always upgrade to a fancier machine later. All right, step number one is to locate your power. This is my power switch for my machine, and you want to make sure it's off. All right, step number two is look at your threading pattern. So we will start here, is where the spool of thread goes. Travels over to here, goes through here. It goes through here, which is the tension, down. It comes back up through here, and you always want this set at your highest spot. And then it goes down here, through this little catch, through this, and then into the needle, which we're going to show you how to put the needle in the machine as well. And the next. Alright, today the next step is to insert a needle. Now this sewing needle is different than a hand sewing needle. This is the sewing needle for a sewing machine. See how it has a flat side? My machine, the flat side goes towards the back. So you're going to put it in here, and you're going to feel it slide up in, and you tighten it with your fingers so that your flat side is back, straight back, or whichever way. Check your owner's manual and tighten it with your fingers, nice and snug. So now the needle's inserted, it's sharp, and it's ready to go. A little hint or tip, a dull needle will make a jagged seam. Okay, in this step we are going to thread the bobbin. We start with an empty bobbin, and if your machine comes equipped with what's called a bobbin threader, then you'll have some spot where you can stick your bobbin on. It's a little peg there. I stuck the bobbin on. The thread is back here on the thread holder, and I came over here. I went around the bobbin thread holder. This creates a little bit of tension so you don't get a loose bobbin as it winds. And we come over here, and now push the bobbin over. That engages it. But you also have to unlock the machine, because if you don't, the needle is going to go up and down as you're filling the bobbin. Now for this step, you do need your sewing machine powered on, just so you know. All right, so we've got it pushed over. Now the thread is all there. Now we want to gently push. Now as you can see, my thread is not going. So that's why I left the tail. I hold the tail until it grabs and pulls it away from my fingers. Now you just gently push. And as you see, it's going to fill the bobbin. It's keeping a nice tension on it. It's coming back over here, and it's filling the bobbin. And most machines have the ability to pop the bobbin over once it's full. So you'll see that here in a second. Alright, let's see. Should pop it out when it gets full. Slowing down, and this is when I normally stop. Most machines will have a pop out though. Alright, so we've filled a bobbin, and it's still connected to the thread, so we will take it off the bobbin holder, and we will snip it so that it's no longer one piece of thread. Alright, then we come down here to the bobbin hole, and this is called a bobbin holder, and this is the bobbin we just filled. You want to insert it into your bobbin holder like that, the thread going up. There's a little slot. Now I'm stopping the bobbin with my finger. There's a little slot there. Put the thread in, then it slides up under that piece of metal. So now, if you can hold the bobbin by the thread like this, then you know your tension is correct on the bobbin. Now my bobbin holder has a little hole here in this little ear that I need to then thread the right. The next step is to actually insert the bobbin. It has this nice handy little lever, mine does, here, and I can hold on to it and it locks the bobbin from falling out. Actually just insert and it's in. Hold the thread and close the bobbin door. Alright, before we can finish the bobbin on the bottom, we need to come back up here to the top, and you come here, put the thread through the first one, and it's a good thing to look at your owner's manual and get a good idea of how your thread pattern goes. But you go down through the tension, you come up through this one, you come up here to your highest, where it's in its highest point, slide it through that one, and you come down here and thread it through these here as well. So I like to make the tip of my thread damp. It helps with static and things like that. Put it through that catch, and again, check your owner's manual to see where all they recommend the thread to go. You don't want to miss one of the spots. Now I'm gonna trim that end so there's no fuzzies on the end. Make it damp, and then put it through the eye of the needle. You want to go from front to back, or if your needle is the kind that's in from the side, you would go in from the side towards this way. Now I'm going to pull that thread snug, but I don't need any extra. And I'm going to make sure it goes under the presser foot. Now I'm ready. See, this is the bottom thread hanging out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this thread this way with my hand. I'm going to come over here and lock my machine back in. Now I'm turning this with my hand as I'm holding the thread over here. So that I'm not running the machine with the presser foot. I'm running this with my hand. That's a very important thing to remember. Okay, so I'm holding the thread with this hand, and I'm going to run down with the needle one time, and it comes back up like that. I'll take a scissors or something like that and run under your presser foot. Now see how the bottom thread is on my upper thread? Pull them both out. Now you should have both threads coming out from under your presser foot like that. See, I have two threads. Now the next step is to check your settings for your stitches. So up here on mine, I can tell that I'm in either the straight or the zigzag. Sometimes you have separate buttons, but we're going to test the straight stitch. So because my selector says it can be either, then I know I have another button somewhere to tell me which is which. So here, this selector chooses my needle position. So if I move that selector, my needle moves. I want it the whole way over for this. And this back here is my zigzag selector. We don't want a zigzag for right now, so we want it set to 0. This down here is my buttonhole. We don't want that. Down here is my straight stitch and my reverse. And reverse happens when you hold this up. Don't need reverse, but I want my stitch set at about a 2, and that I can adjust by moving this. So my stitch is on a 2. So now I'm ready to test to see if all my machine is threaded correctly. You just need a scrap of material for this, nothing special. It's probably something. This is your presser foot handle. Every machine has one somewhere, maybe here, maybe on the side. And one other thing my machine has is a thread cutter. I don't use it very often, but most machines have them somewhere where you can pull the thread through and trim your tails off. And then it also holds the thread so you can start the next time. But I don't use that. I just use the scissors. Alright, here's our scrap of material. I have it folded because you almost always sew with at least 2 layers of fabric, so you want to test it on a double layer. You have to put the presser foot down. There's usually a little lever somewhere on the back or side of your machine. You put it down and then gently press your presser foot and do several inches of stitch. Okay, at the end, lift your presser foot again, pull your fabric and all out and trim it off. You want to leave plenty of thread there. Okay, here's the stitching, nice and straight, top and bottom. That's what you're aiming for. Similar stitching, top and bottom. Next, let's check our zigzag. All right, we turn this to about a 2 or a 3 on the zigzag. And we'll put the same scrap of fabric. We don't need anything fancy. Make sure your threads are under your presser foot. Put your presser foot down and check your zigzag setting. Pick up your presser foot, bring your threads all the way out and trim them off. And again, we have a nice zigzag top and bottom. All right. You have now threaded the machine and done their test stitches, and so you are ready to sew. Remember, always pull your threads out far enough before you trim them. Put your presser foot down when you're sewing, pick it up when you're not sewing, and always run your presser foot gently to start. And if your needle unthreads, you have to pick your presser foot back up to rethread it. Otherwise, your thread will be in the tension and it'll be hard to pull. All right, we're going to do a walkthrough of the parts of the machine here at the end so that we be sure and remember all the parts. So we have to have a thread on top. It follows through tension. Always start at the highest spot, come down and through your needle. Make sure you've checked your owner's manual to see which direction your needle goes, and also make sure that your bobbin is in and snug. It's not falling out when you open the door. Some bobbins will be right here, so you can just double check whichever spot your bobbin is in. You want your settings. If you're zigzag, set your zigzag to whichever size you want. If you're not using the zigzag, then it needs to be to 0, and then your straight stitch. This is your bobbin threader. You only use this to fill bobbins, otherwise it should be in the neutral position. Most machines have a spot, either it'll be a rocker button here or a way to unlock so that you can thread your bobbin and then lock it back to thread. Here's your power button. And one thing we didn't talk about is the throttle foot. And I know I've called it the presser foot, and it's actually not the presser foot, it's the lower throttle foot. This is normally on the floor, and you run it with your foot. So when I say gently push the presser foot, I'm actually not meaning this, I meant this. So I'll have to do better at calling this the throttle. And this is the presser foot. This is the correct term for this is presser foot. And this is your throttle or your go. This is what you push very gently. The whole way down it's going to run it faster, and the less you push, the slower it goes. All right, thank you for taking the time to walk through this video, and if you have any questions, put them in the comments and I will do my very best to answer them. Thank you very much for your time, and have a wonderful time.